championship manager that we work with.
Went. I still went because I wanted to make friends and I wanted to meet everyone in the grade. And I remember that being like one of my fondest St. Andrews memories. And like a few other times that week, we went out and we played like World Cup soccer, um, and a bunch of different games. And it was really just something that captivated me and really made me interested in the school and helped me find these friends and these bonds that I currently have.
I guess I can chime in. I was also a new sophomore, and like Tomas, it took there was probably one night, the first night I got here, and we were only during COVID. We were only when we first arrived on campus, only able to be with our roommate for like the first couple of days because we were in quarantine. But so during that time period, I got to know my roommate. But then as soon as that was over, the other guys on my dorm came by, knocked on my door. I was like the only new kid on the dorm, but they invited me to come play some pickup basketball, and the rest is history. I mean, those people are now my closest friends. So.
Ford, were you one of those people?
I was one of those people. I remember the first time I met Isaac because he kept coming in my room and taking my food. And I felt bad because he was the new kid. And now we're best friends and roommates.
That's great. Okay, great question here. Is there anyone else? Any strong memories? Are you good?
I think a really pivotal moment in the first week at St. Andrews is the square dance. It's the first night when all of the new kids come. Everybody gets a red bandana. You put it on, and it's kind of when you're first there for the first 5 minutes, it's a little weird, but then everybody is just so immersed in it, and it's really fun, and everyone's just like grabbing your hands and you're dancing with people you've never met, people you've never seen. And I remember that was probably the first moment where I was like, well, St. Andrews is definitely different, but it's definitely going to be worthwhile. Yeah.
Awesome. So great question that's come through, and I've seen this quite a bit through the registrations for Visit Back Days. Can you just take us through, maybe Trinity, can you do this? Just take us through a typical school day. What is a typical day? Your day is probably a little different from a typical one, but what does a day at St. Andrews look like? And then someone else could maybe answer the question about what do weekends look like?
Yeah, so classes usually start at like 8:30, if we're talking about a school day. And so before that time, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors have breakfast check-in, just so we can make sure that everybody is at breakfast and is awake for classes. And that usually opens between like 7:30 and like 8:20, just to make sure everybody's like getting breakfast before classes at 8:30. And then we have two classes that are an hour and 15 minutes long, starting at 8:30 and then up until 11:30. We have lunch, which is probably the most fun part. The whole school is in the dining hall at mixed tables, and you're kind of having this family style lunch. And that's really fun. That's probably one of my fondest memories. Everyday Memories from St. Andrews. And then afterwards, we have 2 more classes that are an hour and 15 minutes long. We have sports at 4. So in the spring right now, you go to crew or lax or soccer, or whatever activity you do. In the afternoon, that may be theater or play or dance as well. And then dinner is open from about like 5:30 until 7. And everybody just kind of goes to dinner whenever you get out of practice. Practices are only about like an hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours long, maybe. And then study hall, you have to check in on dorm at 7:45. And then study hall is usually from 8 until 9:45 for freshmen. And I think it's 10 for sophomores and juniors and 10:30 for seniors. And that's kind of like study hall time. And then you check in on dorm whenever your study hall ends. And then wrap it up for lights out around, depending on your age, like 10:30, 10:45, maybe 11. So.
Busy day for sure. Great. Who wants to share a little bit about the weekends? So, I mean, obviously St. Andrews is 100% boarding. So what do the weekends look like here at St. Andrews? Sayun.
Yeah, so during the weekends, you definitely get a lot more freedom. I guess the biggest difference between the weekday and the weekend would be you can go off campus. So we have an Acme that's like, I'd say a 10-minute walk, 10-minute bike away from campus. So a lot of people bike over there. A lot of people just like grab their friends and walk over to Acme and Starbucks. There's like a little town center circle. I don't know what you would call it, but just a bunch of shops. Also on the weekends, you can do like, it's basically your time to do what you couldn't do during the weekday. Like if you want to go work on your art project or go in the dance studio, or get some extra practice in for your sport, like you can always grab a couple people and do that. Other stuff would be on Sunday, we have chapel at 11 and then followed by brunch. So the entire school gets together in the dining hall and has like omelets and brunch food. Yeah, and then on Sunday, we also end off the day with study hall at 8 as normal, but on Saturday, we don't have study hall and check-ins at 10, usually, 10:30 for seniors.
So what usually happens on Saturday from when sports ends? Maybe not when sports ends, maybe from dinner until check-in on Saturday night. What does a Saturday night tend to look like at a boarding school with 100% boarding?
So we have SWAG, which stands for Student Weekend Activity Group, I think. And they're basically in charge of planning all the weekend activities that people can go to. So like a month ago, we had a salt shaker tournament, which if you don't know what that is, you're trying to slide a salt shaker across a dining hall table and like compete against other people to get it as close to the edge of the table as possible. Something like that, or like board games in the dining hall. I don't know.
Does anyone have a favorite dance? I feel like there's a lot of activities around dances. Is there a favorite? Ford, do you have a favorite dance?
We just had casino night, which the seniors kind of planned, and I think we kind of knocked it out of the park. It was like one of the best. It was one of the best casino nights ever. Like I looked back on like old pictures from previous casino nights, and this year we went all out. And that was really fun. It was like the whole school kind of like playing all these like card games and with snacks and just like having a bunch of fun with like disco lights and things like that in the gym. And we had like fake money and people cashed out their money to see like who made the most. And then you would get prizes depending on like who made the most money. So yeah, I think that was probably one of my most recent like fun evening activities we've had.
Yeah, in addition to casino night and like the more like formal dances, so like homecoming or semi-formal, there's also a lot of fun kind of random dances. So one of my favorites is the silent disco, which is where everybody gets a pair of headphones and there's 3 different stations and they're all playing like different music and you kind of like clump together and some people are listening to the same song, some people aren't. But that's a lot of fun. And then there's also sometimes there's themed dances, so it'll be like a neon theme or like a whiteout, and those are just, they get a little sweaty, I would say, but they're a lot of fun. And yeah, that's definitely a fun weekend activity for Saturday nights, but casino night was also very good this year.
One of my favorite things about the weekend is like happens after we check in, which is just like spending time with your friends, knowing you don't have to go to classes the next day. I know on Sherwood, a lot of the guys like to get together and like play poker. And sometimes we make bets on the poker game, which I've gotten the short end of the stick on, but it's a lot of fun. We get creative, but just having that time with your friends is something that that we really value, and it's something like those are memories, even though it's really simple, that are gonna last a lifetime.
It's great. It's funny you said that, actually, Isaac. I'm actually not at St. Andrews right now for all our guests. I'm in South Carolina, and I'm with 8 of my classmates from St. Andrews who and that's what we did. We just sat here in this living room for hours and just talked and caught up and talked about life and how people were doing and families, and just those lifelong connections have been incredible for me. And we're getting texts. Everyone's flying to different areas of the country right now, and I'm getting texts of different talks and different commencement speeches and things like that we had discussed and shared over the weekend. So it keeps going, Isaac. It actually probably gets better in all sorts of ways. So great. I'm gonna try to fire through some of these awesome questions that have come through. A really good one from Liam Wilson. How is St. Andrews different than you thought it would be? Like you sort of maybe had a lot of people here might have an expectation of what it is. If you had one, how is it different than you thought it would be? Ford.
So my sister, sorry, my sister is 2 years ahead of me in St. Andrews. She graduated a few years ago. So I would always visit, and I had this idea of St. Andrews built up in my head as a 7th and 8th grader. But then showing up at St. Andrews, one thing that I realized is that basically the entire thing is student run. Like anything that we do on the weekends, the students come up with it, and then the students go set it up, and the students go run it for the students. And that's the way that a lot of things work at St. Andrews. The students take control and make it happen.
It's great.
I'm gonna add on to that. My sister and Ford's sister were in the same class. And she would always tell me, like before I came, she would tell me about like the phone rule and how sometimes it was like something like that could be super stressful. And then I sort of came in like sort of worried about, the phone rule. I was used to being on Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, throughout all of 7th and 8th grade. And then I came here, and then like I spent the entire spring on the front lawn, like with all of my friends, and I wasn't thinking about my phone at all. And so I think it's something like that that sort of like preoccupied me before I came, turned out to be one of the best aspects of St. Andrews. But it's super social and super student run, without the need to be on your phone, that sort of thing.
One of the beautiful things that I found is that what the school presents to incoming students is pretty accurate to what actually goes on here. I know before I even came to school, I had a conversation with Mr. Robinson, who's my advisor, and some of the things he was saying seemed like a little bit preposterous because I'd come from an independent day school in Baltimore, all boys, and there were certain aspects of school life that were great, but there were others that weren't. People weren't very nice, and one of the things he said was just everybody is super, super kind, and that's there's a certain caliber of person that St. Andrews wants to develop. And in my 3 years here, I've really found that to be quite true. Not only just from a personal experience, but just the way the school operates on a day-to-day basis. And and yeah, so I think that that's, you don't always get what you were necessarily sold on in an experience like this, but St. Andrews does a good job of presenting what is true.
I'll say one last thing quickly. I did not expect to have like so many unexpected like friendships here. So I kind of like expected like my old school people just kind of came in and like found a group and like stuck to that group. And when I came in, I found a lot of like unexpected friendships from like classes and sports. And like even when you transition between like different sports or different classes through the years, like as a senior now, I've kind of like had the time to like look back and be like, oh my gosh, do you remember when like we first met and like this happened and we would do this every single day, because that's exactly like the time we would spend together after sports or before sports or things like that. And so I've kind of found all these like friendships from people like on different sides of the world and like from different backgrounds. And I really appreciated that because it's kind of been really eye-opening to me, getting to know so many different people.
That's great. I feel like I'm looking at Vivian's good question about your favorite aspect or characteristic about St. Andrews that you didn't expect. It feels a little bit similar, but does anyone have a even more targeted answer to that specific question? Something that you love that you didn't exactly expect? Yes, Leah.
Yeah, I think something that I wasn't necessarily expecting was like the really valuable relationships that I have with teachers. And I think at my old school, I had some great teachers, and at St. Andrews, I had some amazing teachers. But I think the biggest difference is that at St. Andrews, you really kind of see people as whole people, and you see people if like they're your coach and they're also your math teacher, and you see your classmates, but maybe one of them is also your roommate. So you really see like people for kind of all that they are, which is something that I think is very unique to boarding school and particularly St. Andrews. And regarding teachers, I think like probably in middle school and until I got here, you only kind of see teachers as teachers, but St. Andrews has really let me see teachers as like full humans, which is kind of odd to say, but just I think that I've learned a lot from them in classrooms, but also just about their life experiences, and getting to know them and their lives before St. Andrews has been a real joy. And it's definitely something that I wasn't necessarily expecting.
I want to add on to that actually, Leah, because the extra piece to this, which maybe I don't know if people feel this way, is also your classmates' parents and how your connection, you start to develop relationships with your classmates' parents that actually also last a lifetime. So it's one of the things that I'm here in this weekend sort of mini reunion, and the first question we all ask each other is just like, how are your parents are doing, or how are things with your sister, or whatever it might be. So you really, because it's that family is extended, and parents can have a really incredible impact on you as well here on this boarding environment. Okay. Quick question, switching gears. What is it like transitioning from a day school to boarding? Do you have any tips on how to adjust quickly? How was that adjustment for you? Yeah, go ahead.
So I went to an all-girls day school right before coming to St. Andrews. And it was definitely a big change. Rooming with someone that you've never met before and only having small conversations with them on the phone. You don't really know the person as well as you might like. But your seniors on dorm and your dorm faculty do a really great job in helping you adjust to this new community and to this new like relationship that you have to create kind of fast. And the nice thing about St. Andrews is because everybody there boards, you're kind of forced to create these relationships a lot faster than if you were at a day school. So you're meeting people so much quicker, you're getting to know them faster. In the first week, there's facilitated conversations that you have with your roommate, kind of talking about what you're like, if you're clean, if you're dirty, what time you want to wake up, what time you want to go to breakfast in the morning, all of the small logistical things. But I think the major tip that I would have for that transition is to just like lean in and really just embrace it. And although it's nerve-wracking, I remember being super nervous my first week at St. Andrews, and just kind of embracing this new reality that you kind of have to like be uncomfortable with at first, maybe, but you know, kind of put yourself all in, all out there.
Yeah, Ford.
I'll quickly add on by saying when you show up, like things aren't going to go perfectly. My first day of class, I was walking down the stairs and I missed the last step and I fell on the first day of class in front of like 20 people. I've screwed up my laundry countless times as a freshman. Like it's just the way it goes, and you'll learn, you'll get better from it.
You'll always see a first-year student running through the dining hall on the first day of classes because they went to the wrong place or the wrong room, and everyone, you just help them get to where they need to be. And it's going to be okay. That's for sure. Yeah, Isaac.
The thing I love about that I loved about transitioning to boarding school was when I lived in Baltimore and went to day school. So I played multiple sports, and I was playing for my school and I was also playing club sports. And because I was constantly in motion, because I had to travel around to different practices and games, I never really had the time to appreciate the stuff I was doing and appreciate the people I was around. And coming to St. Andrews, I've been able to do everything I love to do in one place, and do everything I love to do at a high level. And that's one of the best differences that I've observed between day and boarding school. And then my tip would be that as you come to St. Andrews, make relationships and get close to faculty, because you'll build this support system, and these amazing people who kind of become whether it's your coach or a teacher or your dorm parent, they'll kind of become your parents away from home. And those are connections that are really, really valuable.
Which I think is connected. Brooke is asking a really good question about taking time to recharge in the day or during the week, which is really important, and it's not easy to do unless you're intentional about it. Does anyone have any tips on how to do that? Everyone. Okay. Yeah. Sayun and then Trinity.
Yeah, so coming from a day school, it can feel really overwhelming to have people around you 24/7. Like you're living at your school, you're always going to have people around you. So as Will Rob said, you really have to be intentional about finding time for yourself and doing stuff that you enjoy by yourself. I guess my tip would be find a space that you're really comfortable in. For me, for a while, that was the dance studio, and during the weekends I would go in and just spend a couple of hours, do my own stuff, and then go back to my room, read a little. But I guess my tip would be find a time and a space, and make sure you really care for yourself.
Yeah, I'll say two things. One is kind of sticking or doing things that kind of fill your cup. So don't get involved in things that make you excited, and when you talk about it or when you have to go and it's cold outside and you have to walk from one place to the other, do something that's going to make you excited to go from whatever school to practice, or from dinner to the orchestra room and things like that. So I think that's one, kind of sticking to extracurriculars that you really enjoy. And then two, kind of knowing what kind of person you are, I think. So like for me, I know like I do a lot kind of off dorm, and a lot of people like who are close to me know like when I'm on dorm, I'm actually like pretty introverted. Um and I usually like to be really quiet and like either stay in my room or just kind of like go to one or two friends' rooms who know that like I just kind of want to recharge and just kind of like lay there on their floor and talk to them about their day, and or maybe not talk at all and just sit there on their floor while we play a game or something like that. And so kind of like surround yourself with people who kind of like either know that about you or purposely kind of like take time for yourself, whether it's like on dorm or off dorm, to like just do whatever you need to do to recharge.
That's great. So Catherine is asking a great question about community service work. I'm gonna pick on Tomas for this to start. If anyone can jump in, Tomas, can you share a little bit? You're a community service leader here. Can you share a little bit about sort of how did that happen? How did you become a community service leader, or what were you doing that led you to become one? And then how are you leading this year in community service?
Yeah, so our chaplain, Reverend Jay Hutchinson, he like sort of heads the community service program. And so I've gotten really close to him through like, community service opportunities I've had in the years, before my senior year, as well as like he's a lacrosse coach, and I like to think I'm sort of involved with like the sort of religion program here. And so I mean, he chose me because I don't know, he knew that I really enjoyed the community service that I was doing, and that I don't know, he just liked my character, I guess. Um, but I mean, we offer a lot of community service opportunities. Um, Mostly on Wednesdays, we have this long lunch block where about half the school, probably maybe more, does some form of community service. So there's a large amount of people who go to these public elementary schools in the area, and they mentor like first graders through fifth graders, and they just like play with them in recess. They like read with them, they hang out with them, they give them friendship. um, I'm part of a group of probably 40 students who likes to go to the senior center on Wednesdays, and we just eat meals with um, Middletown seniors, and hear their stories. And I speak Spanish, and there's this one man, a Brazilian immigrant who a super nice man, and he like coaches soccer. He coaches soccer in Brazil, and he just will talk in Spanish about that. Or he can also speak French, and another friend of ours will like speak French with him. So there's different aspects of St. Andrews, like the language classes you're taking, that can sort of mix in with something like community service. There's also like the adaptive dance and swimming programs, where St. Andrews brings in a lot of young children with special needs, and they'll choreograph dances with the children, and put on performances with the children, or they'll just teach them how to swim in our pool here. So a lot of the stuff is super meaningful to the community, and it's like just sort of heartwarming in the sense that like it'll just like brighten your day. um yeah, everyone's involved. The vast majority of the school does at least one or two things throughout the year, and then probably 70 or 80% of the school does something every 60-70% of the school does something every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see everyone get involved with it too.
And I was picking on you, Tomas, because you just led us in the going down to the beach for the polar bear plunge in support of Special Olympics, and which my son did in large part because Tomas was helping lead that charge. And I think, can anyone share their experience hosting the Special Olympics here on campus? They're big. Like, raise your hand if you were involved in the Special Olympics that was hosted here, like the large jamboree that they do every year. Yeah, which I think is a pretty powerful and pretty wonderful opportunity for all students to be involved in. So Okay, Catherine, hopefully that answers your question. I'll keep it going. Thank you, Tomas. Another really good question here from Liam, which is really different. St. Andrews is really different in this way than when I was a student, which is, what are the relationships like between students in different grades? Yeah, Sayun.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone on this panel could have a great answer to this, because I think everyone at St. Andrews has some kind of relationship with someone in another grade than themselves. That's really like personal and special. And I think that's just what St. Andrews does. As a senior, you get to live on different dorms. So there's no senior dorm. Every senior is spread out into junior, sophomore, or freshman dorms. Personally, I'm on Means, which is a junior dorm. So I live with junior girls. And it's been like incredible. I mean, I've found friendships and people that I never realized I could get so close with. And you got to really have like living together with these people from other grades. It's just a whole new set of people that you can have really meaningful relationships with and like hang out on your own time, even if you don't have classes together. I don't know. I think that's what really sets St. Andrews apart from other schools, from what I've heard from other schools.
Do you all where does that come? I mean, does that happen with teams? Does that happen sort of with afternoon activities? Where do you think? Obviously, dorm is a really good one, because for those of you who don't know, we don't have a senior dorm here at St. Andrews. We have the seniors spread out across all of our dorms in supervisory sort of big sibling roles. So is that happening a lot? And for those students who are on campus right now, they're at preseason. So I'm also just curious, like if you, is that those afternoon activities, Trinity?
Yeah, I have found there was like one junior that I've gotten like unexpectedly like close with, and it started with I TA'd religious studies, and so I was a junior last year and she was a sophomore, and now I'm a senior and she's a junior. And then we also like rode together. And that's been like this unexpected friendship for me. We always like text each other and check in on each other. And there was a time where I got COVID and she was the first one who texted me and asked me if I needed anything. And it's kind of been this like back and forth. It started with me like kind of helping her as like a TA, and it's turned out to be like this unexpected friendship that's kind of like motivated me and like rowing and all these other things, and kind of like a little reminder and nugget of like inspiration for like why I like love St. Andrews, or like why I love to like go to school and meet new people and talk to new people. And so we've kind of like really support each other. And I think things like that happen a lot, whether it's through like sports or once you get to junior and senior year, sometimes like classes overlap in terms of like the courses you take. So that's another opportunity. And then obviously on dorm too.
That's great.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject and say that, like, for me, I think the biggest thing in terms of forming these relationships with kids in the other grades has been sports. So like right now specifically, because it's lacrosse season, like just talking to, or I'll like lead like a team, pep talk before every practice. And it's just like something that I get to, I don't know, I feel like a coach almost to like some of the younger kids. I have a brother in the freshman class. And it's just little stuff like that that makes me feel like I'm sort of formulating these great bonds with all these younger children. The other thing is like the little brother, little sister program we have here. So every senior like sort of takes a new student under their wing, and they become like, Will Robson is my little brother, and so I've become really good friends with him, and I've I think I like to say that I've had some sway on him and like helped him find his way here at St. Andrews. But I think a lot of there's a lot of opportunity here with sports, dorm, little brother. Yeah,
That's great. You have Tomas. It's been very positive, and I appreciate that.
I try.
Sort of connected. So I'm going to jump around a little bit, but sort of connected. Lillian is asking, what is it like coming in as a new junior? And I know none of you here were new juniors. Am I right about that? Yeah, none of you were new juniors, but Are you able to sort of speak on what that could look like in your experience? Like you obviously had new members of your class last year when you were juniors. Do you can you share what you think that might have been like, or how maybe you welcomed them last year? Yeah, Ford.
I think one of the main things that I think would be scary coming in as a new junior would be that the class has already been together for 2 full years. And so, everyone's already great friends. But one thing that means is that everyone is also like used to St. Andrews and they know how we do things at St. Andrews. What we do is we bring people in with open arms. So new people show up in our community and just immediately like that, they know that they're loved and welcomed.
And I would just say, adding on to what Ford said, that St. Andrews is a pretty small school. So when we do get new people, I think like we're always very excited to welcome them. And it's just really exciting to have a new face and have someone new in your class. I was also a new sophomore, so it's a little different, but something I experienced was just that everyone was like very interested in getting to know you and kind of making you a part of the community. And I think that that's even more true when you're a new junior, because you know your class more, but it's also even more exciting to kind of have someone new be in your class and to welcome them as well.
That's great. Was there a specific moment where you started feeling at home or comfortable at St. Andrews? Can you think about, was there an aha moment, or is it, okay, there was for Ford, go for it.
I went to preseason my freshman year for football. So we showed up before anyone else. It was only the football team there. And on my dorm, there were only 2 other guys living there, 2 other completely new guys who I'd never met. And on that first night of preseason, we all just went to the basketball court and the 3 of us just sat down and talked for a while. And now, one of those kids, one of my best friends, one of my roommates, the other one, we ran SAISL together. We're really close. But it was just a moment that early in my St. Andrews career, just a couple hours in, right when I knew. Yeah.
Was it for, did you just feel sort of a kindred spirits or the shared values with those guys, or?
Yeah, shared values. It was also just really easy to talk to them. Yeah, everyone was very, very open.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll add on. I know Siyun and Trinity will definitely remember this, but on Pell, our freshman year, we had a dorm function, which was called like icebergs. And everybody filled out this iceberg, and the premise of the activity was basically like, what do people see from the outside, and what is something that people might not know about you, or what is something that like you're not really super upfront about. And the activity lasted like maybe 2 hours. And I remember that moment and just hearing all of these stories from my classmates and my roommate, and just feeling such a large sense of connection with them, and like experiencing their stories and hearing their stories and just getting to know them further, and like what's maybe not at the tip of their iceberg. So yeah, that was a really, really beautiful moment on Pell Dorm freshman year.
I'm gonna interrupt. I actually have to run to a lacrosse practice right now, but thank you all. These have been wonderful questions, and I hope to see you at Revisit Day. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Isaac's still here.
You want to say hi, Mary?
Say hi. Hi. Wait, where? I can't hear. Oh, wait, what? Oh. Sorry. I'm sorry, Will Rob. I just woke up from a nap.
That's good to see you. It's good. Do you want to
Wait,
introduce
what?
yourself and say
Did I
where you're
just
from?
put in my AirPod instead of yours?
All right, Chiquette, I'm muting you. I'm muting you. All right.
Oh wait, I'll say I think
Yeah.
I felt at home when, rather than turning me away, Ford gave me yet another thing of microwavable mac and cheese.
And I think the joke here with Isaac is that I'm his advisor, and he would eat all day long if we if he could. He's an eating machine. Andrew's asking a really interesting question that thankfully I haven't thought that much about recently, but you all sort of have lived through the pandemic here at St. Andrews. Can you share a little bit about maybe from your first year until now, how it has it changed? I guess is a sort of a good first question. And if it has changed, how and in what ways maybe hasn't it changed? It's a big question. Yeah, same. Yeah.
Something our grade talks about a lot is that we're the last class to have experienced a normal year. So when we came in as freshmen up until the start of the pandemic, we were having like a normal year, and then we got sent home for quarantine. And then every class after that came in during a COVID year. So we're the only ones who know what it's really like for it to be normal. But I think what we do as a grade is we redefine normal. Normal doesn't have a set, definition at St. Andrews. Like you can always fix it around. So something that's changed the way we view, the pandemic's really changed the way we view like real life interactions. I think being home for so long has made us really value those type of things more. And coming back and like being able to actually go to class with people and sit around and just like enjoy each other's presence, real life presence. Yeah, that was kind of a ramble, but I don't know. Personally, it was like the pandemic's made me value relationships more.
Yeah. That's great.
I would say just quickly, I think the pandemic was like one of the first times I kind of found like some unexpected friendships, because I had like people would just randomly reach out all the time. And I would be like, I only had like one class with you and we really talked, and then ended up being like super close friends, and I have classes with these people now. And I always look back and say, do you remember that time during the pandemic when we just decided to like play a game randomly and on the phone and talk and catch up? And so I think like that kind of has carried on a little bit in terms of like we're more intentional with how we interact with each other and like how we spend our time with each other. And so like during the pandemic, one thing we did is we would always like go outside and hang out and get like as many people as possible in the grade to hang out, because we just miss everyone so much. And now I think that's kind of carried on, and everybody's super intentional about like, oh my gosh, we have a free like night, let's get as many people as we can to like sit in Engelhard and play a card game or something like that. And so yeah, I think that's one thing, like positive thing that's kind of like carried on from the pandemic.
Great. I found that year, your sophomore year, to be really, really incredibly rewarding in all sorts of ways. Because to your point, Trinity, this idea of just simplicity, like we had to be simple, and through that simplicity, we sort of really were able to like more fully connect with each other, which was really nice. And just like seeing you all as students do exactly what you're saying, just like sitting down outside together in a circle and just talking and sharing was pretty nice. It's pretty awesome. And especially given the challenges that we were all facing, both on campus and beyond. So this the way you all stayed positive and really sort of bought in was awesome. All right, there are two really good questions that I want to make sure we hit. One is from Baker. Baker's a busy guy. He's asking, how do you manage your academic workload while still attending social events or athletics? It's one of the great sort of it's one of the great unexpected lessons of coming to St. Andrews, Baker. So having to learn to be able to manage all of your ambitions is a tough one, and I'm sure the people on this panel are still working on that. I know that I'm still working on it. So does anyone have any tricks of the trade to do that? Yeah, Ford.
There's a lot of time that's built into your schedule to do stuff like get your work done. Like you've got 2 hours, 2.5 hours every day for study hall. And then you've also about half the days out of your week, you'll have a free block, which is just for one class period, you are free to do whatever you want. But really, if you do homework during your free block in your study hall, you're going to have a ton of free time to do whatever else you need to do.
Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you agree with that, with what George just said. Yeah, there does seem to be plenty of time if you use it wisely, for sure, if you're intentional about it.
I'll agree. I'll also add that Ford, being his roommate, I know he sleeps during every single free period. And yet he's school president, he does a bunch of stuff, and he always gets his work done. So there's the workload, the expectation for academics is definitely high here. But the work gets done, and prioritizing your own well-being and doing the things you love is really important. And making sure that what you're doing is stuff that you're really passionate about, so that like going to practice or going to rehearsals is something that's not necessarily a burden, but more so rewarding. And then the social events just are kind of like happen at times where you're able to attend, and there's the social aspect of St. Andrews is something that happens like between classes, while you're at sports practice. Like you're always experiencing the social dimension of St. Andrews.
Awesome. All right, last question. And I know a lot of you have to get to practice, like Tomas had to go lead stretching, I think, so he had to run. But sort of last question is, what has been your favorite class and why? Quick rapid fire. And if I taught you, I know if I've taught you. No one's going to say my class, so it's okay. Do you have?
I'll
Yeah.
go super fast. My junior fall, I took a class called Social Reform with a teacher named Miss Pressman. And it was basically talking about major social reform movements in the United States. And the way that she taught the class was just really compelling. And if you ever, when you're choosing to pick a class at St. Andrews, a Pressman class is a must. She's just a wonderful teacher, and you can tell she really cares about what she's teaching, and cares that her students are learning.
And just really quickly, because I think this is actually important, especially when you're thinking about transitioning from a day school or public school or any other school, sort of 8th grade, 9th grade, to a boarding school or to St. Andrews. Rosie, when I think about that Miss Pressman's classroom, I think about the circle, the table, and you all around it, and discussion. Can anyone share just like why those discussions, maybe a particular discussion that was really powerful for you, or why you think that method of teaching and learning is so effective or been great for you? It's a big question, I know. So.
Yeah, it ties into my favorite class as well.
Great.
Favorite class is English this year with Mr. Torrey. Such a great teacher. But it's the same round table setting, Harkness table, everyone. It makes it so that everyone gets a chance to chime in. And the discussions are just a lot more profound when you can look someone in the eye versus when someone's sitting 10 feet over there, 10 feet behind you. Yeah. And then it makes it easier to have like small group discussions as well. Everything about it is just really, really productive.
I would also add on that usually at Harkness table discussions, I'm actually sitting at one right now. This is basically what it looks like, is that they're mostly student led, and it's really like a conversation between students. And like usually a teacher will also be sitting at this sort of a table, and the teacher will kind of guide you and will help you reach like these conclusions. But it's definitely, I think that the Harkness table and like this method of discussing things around a circular table, it really fosters like students kind of coming to realizations on their own, and yeah, just finding interesting things like through the text and through each other and through listening to each other by themselves with the help of a teacher. But yeah.
Other favorite class and why, quickly?
Yeah, I can go. I'm probably like, this isn't a popular one, but I really enjoy the science classes here. Last year I really enjoyed chemistry, even though that was like on the brink for people. And then this year, AS environmental science is by far my like favorite class. I just love how like it connects to like I can connect everything to the world around me and kind of enjoy science from a very like human-centered point of view. And then also my teacher, Mr. Rarig, we've gotten really close talking about a lot of environmental science things. And since I'm taking AS chemistry this year too, we kind of talk about like the intersections of both of those like subjects. And he's kind of pushed me in a lot of ways with my like creativity, because I sometimes get very analytical because I like science. And he kind of pushes me to think more like deeper, creative in terms of like my problem solving when it comes to environmental science. And it's been a really good connection for me this year.
Yeah, going off of that, I've also really enjoyed AS Chem this year. Trinity knows we're in the same class, but as a senior, you get to focus on a science, whether that's bio, physics, or chem, or environmental science, and you have a lot more like experiments rather than learning the facts. That's something I've really enjoyed, being able to do stuff on my own and like go on my own experimental path.
It's awesome. Okay. Just be mindful of everyone's time. So if you're at home or wherever you might be in the world, if you have any more questions, you can absolutely reach out to your tour guide. You can reach out to me and I can forward it to a student, to any of these students. If you have a specific question, I'll type my email in the chat. Just it's easy to find, but I'll make it even easier. If you have more questions, we absolutely would love to answer them. If you're coming to a Visit Back Day, these great folks and many, many others can't wait to welcome you. And thank you to these awesome students. So I know obviously Mary was taking a nap, so I know some of you may have foregone a nap in between practices during preseason. So thank you for that. And for others, safe travels back tomorrow. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And thank you everyone so much for coming. We really appreciate it and we're humbled. Appreciate it. It's nice, all the thanks there. All right, take care, y'all. Thank you, Trinity. Thank you, Sayun. Take care. How are you? It's good to see you. Hold on, you're still on mute. Wait, hold on, you're still on mute.